Hi all. So we've made a little bit of discernible progress, so it seemed good to make a video. We have now our carbon skin splitters. I do want to make a second development of these, but at the moment I just need a damn splitter so I can get the car running and put it on the road. And then I can play around with it next winter. So for the moment, that's going to do. Then we'll do when we originally do the next splitter, we'll basically, instead of having a separate splitter tunnel, we'll basically incorporate that. And there's an aluminium panel that seals underneath the radiator. So basically we'll extend the splitter further all the way to the back of the radiator and almost to the bulkhead. We'll make that one piece. So basically underneath will be a lot tidier. But for the moment, let's get it going. We've got the covers on. We've come down and sealed. We put the dead band around the acrylic lenses. So lights are in, wired. Just wait for me to power the battery up, and then I can play with the PDM. We have our little supports here, just as a. It seemed rude not to fit them, and it helps. So. Front splitter, side splitter. Now we're playing with shapes for a barge board or air, whatever you want to call it, basically. Something to help direct the air from the back side of the wheel. So any exiting radiator air that comes from the side, there's a path for it that's quite straight and hopefully turns, or turning vane is probably the best. Turn the air and keep it, at least it's somewhere close to the side of the body. So instead of having this completely open, we'll end up with some form of a piece. This is just quickly printed in PLA just to have a play with it. But I'm still not happy with the shape. So maybe a few iterations before I'm happy with the shape. But for the moment, they're open. Wheels are still missing. Wheels are at the refinishes at the moment. So we're having the outer barrels polished, and then we'll have them as a Cerakote product that basically is very good on polished aluminum, or raw polished aluminum, should we say. So we're going to Cerakote those so that they do still look, it stays more polished, should we say, than clear coating, or should we say clear coating or clear powder coating the outer rim. So they do still look polished, but they'll have a ceramic coating on them. The barrel centers, I've decided on like a candy gold color. So you'll have to believe me at this point, but they've been there 3 weeks. I hope to God they'll be back soon, so we can play with the wheels. Just doing final body fit on the center and to the front and rear clip. We're doing some minor adjustments there. We do now have obviously the limiter for the front clip. So it has a thing. So basically now once it's open, it locks. But if you pull it back twice, it unlocks. So we have a bonnet stay slider. It's I think it's like an old MG style thing. I'm sure they had them in the boot, but but it's all in. Obviously we've had a 12-pin connector. That's all wired up. That's all sliced. I'm all okay here. So I'm still playing with the adjustment on the body, but realistic, everything else is there now. Once the wheels and the tires get back, we'll have one more support. Yes, try and show you what you're doing, Clive, otherwise they just show a blank screen. There we go. So we'll have another bar like that comes down to here. That I just want to make sure it misses the tire before I make this position and drill a hole. But effectively that's just adding one layer of extra stabilization on there, because we ended up cutting. So obviously we ended up cutting out of the front splitter a large section there, which previously gave it some support, and I sort of took that out to put the splitter tunnel in. So yeah, wasn't totally happy with it. I thought I'll add that while I got the chance. That's about the front. So we've ordered some seals. If you can see these red pieces here, they're just yet again just quickly printed in PLA. If you can imagine the two of those together, let's pull them out. or just drop them, Clive. Doesn't matter. So excuse my. There we go. So if you can imagine this piece, if it was one piece and aluminium, hard coated, and then has a actual proper. Put them down, Clive. It's easier. There you go. Actually has a proper lipped seal in here instead of an O-ring. One problem that some lift cylinders have is if you use just an O-ring, O-rings are fine if you just clamp them and use them as a stationary seal, but if you use a moving seal, they will roll in that groove, and eventually they'll just sort of wear and your leg will get leaking. So what you actually need is a square seal with a lip, so the lip sort of taper sticks out and it holds the pressure in there. So this is the inner piece of my design of lift cylinders, but I wanted to make sure, you know, CAD is good, but realistically, perfectly, I wanted to make sure if I put both the lift cylinders in, roughly positioning where they are now, do they hit anything? Yeah, get it in there. There we go. So they miss each other. There is a gap between it, but they do just hit that there. So, which is the little sort of this flat plate I've got here, this gusset. So we are going to have to make about a 5mm notch in that gusset. So yet again, out with the silver paint to, you know, yeah, it's a shame which is powder coated, but the cylinders will fit. Also, I hadn't even thought and planned about this, but the linear potentiometers there, they'll also hit there. So you can see it's hitting here. So, but that's easy enough. We'll just add a spacer and move this whole linear out. Obviously there's no force to this, it's literally just it's just gauging the position of the height of the shock. So it doesn't matter exactly where it is, and there's no load, there's no spring to it, so it doesn't matter if it's out another 10mm. No biggie there. So cylinder design is pretty much finalized. I've ordered the lip seals, they're on their way. They should be here in about another week or so. You could buy one in town, or I can buy 10 from China for the same price, including delivery. So it made sense just to order. I got two different sizes that I need. You've got one O-ring seal, which seals the end, and then I've got 2 seals in it. It's self-limiting, so realistically, once it comes to the end of its travel, you could still run 700 PSI in there and it won't go past the end of the stroke. I just have to make my mind up whether I want to thread it or whether I'm going to put a second nut at the back. I have got room for both, but I'm still never perfectly satisfied. You know, everything can be improved. Last time, I'm sure we mentioned about having the vents. Well, the ability to lower the AC system down was one of my designs. So basically, I want to be able to, if I have any problems, loosen off the bolts on the top and the bottom, which I can easily get from the bottom, and then drop the AC system down. Well, if I do that, how the hell, once the dash top is on here, how do I get, so once the dash top is on here, how do I get the air from here to our vents in the dash top? So then I came across these, not as nice looking as the Audis, but what they are is very short. And also what they are is they have a thread in. So I can basically, point the camera in the right direction, I can screw them in. So you put the dash on, eventually the dash will obviously be bonded to the actual center tub. So when I bolt the body on, these won't be in. All I need to do then is pretty much get this. I can poke it through the hole and into the dash, and then when I screw these in, they fit. So when I screw the vent tops in, they sit on there like that. So job done. One more head scratch out the way, and obviously these are quite short, so having another vent on sort of down and back here, sort of pointing towards your knees, we needed to turn that vent around through 90 degrees. So yet again, out come the 3D printer, and now we've made this piece, which basically we will glue into the back like that. And then when you undo this nut from the back, the nut can actually sort of come off of that. So I can actually glue that into the vent permanently and then put the nut in afterwards. So we have 2 of those. So that's the dash vent sorted. Just got to cut the hole in the access panel behind there for those 2 vents. Through the steering wheel and the dash backing, because I had somebody come round the other day. That's just no reason. Stuff we've done on the back. Obviously we've done all of the wiring for the lights. We just haven't terminated the end yet. We have the 2, obviously the Deutsches for the lights themselves. That makes sense. We come up to here, now we're in the center part, which we have a 2-pin DTM for that, and this is the cables that goes up through the stand inside the wing, and then goes up to illuminate either side of the wing plates, which become like a 3rd brake light. If you depin them, it comes through the hole, but obviously I can't get the plug through the hole, so basically I depin them to assemble it, and then I'll put the plug on the end, and hey presto, connect into here. Also have a 4-pin here for the 2 lights, which are actually bolts, but they're also lights for the number plate. So you can see the 2 little black pieces. Actually, why don't we just put the clip down, Clive, and show them. If you excuse me for a split second, I'll put the clip. I'll tell you about the cable before I do that. Trying to bring the cable all the way to the front, because obviously the 12-pin connector's on the front bulkhead there. I was trying to think of a neat way to do it, and we came up with these are like 20mm carbon tubes, and I realized I could put a 15mm carbon tube here and run that along the body and mount it on this bolt here. So what I needed was a couple of joiner pieces. So if we grab this one here, it's a tube with basically an aluminum bracket welded to it, or just a basic bit of flat plate. And I have presently 2 studs. They're being glued at the moment. You can see them there, that I'm gluing to the body itself. And eventually this tube will be basically sat up there with those 2 spacers, and will be tidied to the body. And just to finish it up, before I finish off, I will wrap the carbon tubes in gold, so they kind of blend in to a point, but at least they don't get in the way. So let's just throw that there for a split second, and I'll close it there, and I can show you the lights. There you go. That's better. So the wing's now on. It'll be on now until basically we probably wrap the car. So we have our LED lights, which is like a billet insert that's in the end plates. They're now attached inside here. The cable runs down inside through the printed core that I put in there, in through the side of the wing, along the tube that I fitted, and then down through there, and you can just about see there's a cable coming out here which goes down the joint. So nice and tidy and out the way. These are the silly little bolts that have LED lights in, so the bolts also illuminate the plate. Love it when one thing does 2 jobs. We've folded the grills. Oops, let's try and push that out. I don't want that in there, that's going to wreck the plug otherwise. There we go. We've made the 2 grills, presently just bolted in for the lights. I will obviously have to add some mastic to basically glue the grills themselves around the edges here. It's kind of hard to mount them. We could try and bolt them with plates, but then I've got to make aluminium plates that are threaded, and it just becomes a nightmare. So we'll basically probably bomb them in. It might mean, be unfortunate, it might mean when we take them out to get the body wrapped or painted, depending on which way I go, but I'm kind of leaning on wrapping at the moment, that you might end up wrecking the grills and making new ones, but for the moment they need to be in. I do have some excess to put grills in the bottoms, but I might just leave them out for testing. So wing on, not totally tightened up, as you can see the nuts here, but We do have some titanium bolts in there because, well, you know, if you can buy titanium bolts, then why the hell not? So they're not just painted gold, they are titanium. Yeah, we had the Mercedes springs in there to give this back of the car a bit of a bounce, so it doesn't automatically lock. And then basically when we want to lock the back, we just push and both the catches come in. So now it won't lift, won't come up. And when we activate the pull catch, which is in here, actually, well, previously when I did that, it just automatically locked straight away. But now, I think we can see the rear clip opens up again. So awesome. I did have to put some spacers in those spring units to make sure that there was enough tension on the spring, or compression on the springs, to lift the rear clip up. But one more bugbear out the way. The vent panel for the top, that is now powder coated. I got confirmation today, so hopefully I'll be picking that up tomorrow. The closure panel on the underneath of the splitter that closes the piece that's basically underneath the radiator, which I'll say when I do the later, do a mold for the actual front splitter, then I won't need that because I'll just extend the splitter to sort of here somewhere. But that's done. Obviously the light cowls in the back, or the splash guards, whatever you want to call them, they're in. I tested all the tested all the fans. So we have a blower here, and we have a sucker that sucks up against from the front there. So try and get the least amount of moisture through the light, and just to stop it from overheating. So yeah, it's we have done some welding on the radiator today there we go. To finish we had to orientate the lower entry or exit from the radiator. It was at the wrong angle because I'd altered the radiator angle many moons ago, so we had to correct that so it's horizontal. That's now in. What's that noise? Oops, somebody's outside. But yeah, we're getting pretty close now. So radiator's presently hot, so it's cooling down. Also mounted the radiator temperature switch, that's also in there. And the last thing, because no matter whatever you do, we'll always forget something. One thing I did forget was the power to the secondary pump for the charge cooling. I completely forgot that in the wiring loom. So we shall be adding power. Don't need ground, obviously I can get ground locally. We do have a spare solid state relay for that, luckily. I did remember the pump, but I just forgot the wiring. These are 4 rubber isolators. So the isolators are there, just to try and take some of the noise out of it. This is white 3D printed PLA at the moment. I did try to print some nylon 6, but it looks absolutely horrible. So I think I may have got some settings wrong on the printer. So I'm gonna print it out of ASA carbon fiber for the moment. PLA will be just too, hasn't got the heat content, but it was good enough for checking heights and positions. So one last little thing to add, but I do know where it's going and I've got room for it. Last but not least, once the wheels come back, we do have a brand new set of Michelin Pilot Sport S4s or 4Ss, so they do feel nice and sticky. So wheels, tires, yes, we're getting pretty close now to getting close to the dyno. Hi darling, you're on camera. Exactly. So I'm not far away now. There's not a huge amount of budget items to have to worry about apart from the dynoing itself. The dyno is going to be, yeah, more than I want, but you know, unfortunately it's the one thing I'm going to have to do just to get things initially set up on the dyno, get the engine broken in, because obviously the engine's bone fresh. But we are getting closer by the day. The list of small jobs is getting smaller. So, right, it's been 20 minutes, me blabbing on. what can I say other than, yeah, won't be long. Speak to you soon.